Welcome to the Roaming Yeti podcast, where we share stories and tips to inspire you to roam your neighborhood and the world. I'm your host and head Yeti, Beth Scalacci. I have Julia back with me today. We're going to talk about Disneyland Paris. We have so much to talk about with Disneyland Paris that we're going to have a whole separate episode for the other park, the Studios Park, and our hotel. So get ready and let's roam. Julia, thanks for joining me again to talk
Hi.
about Disneyland Paris.
Yay, I'm very excited. I have so much to say.
We had a good trip, right? I mean, it
It
was
was, yeah,
fun.
it was fun. I'm glad I finally got to be able to go.
Me too. So now I don't have to have you hold that over my head for any more
I
time.
still can.
Okay. Um so Disneyland Paris Resort is two parks. It's Disneyland Park and then or Disneyland Paris, right? Disneyland Paris and Walt Disney Studios Park.
Hmm.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
And Disneyland Paris opened in April 12th, 1992. So we were there for they're still celebrating their 30th anniversary. So they had a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool merch. Um, I think in general, if you're not into riding a lot of rides, you can visit both parks in one day. You might be pushing it. Studio Parks doesn't have a lot to offer, I would say, unless you're a huge Marvel fan and want to spend time over there. But we did the equivalent, I think, of two full days over a 3-day period. So we went to studios for a bit when we arrived. Second day, we spent the whole day in Disneyland Paris, and the evening we went back to studios for the drone show, and then I think we did both parks a little bit the last day.
Yeah, because
And
we popped in real quick for Disneyland Paris and then we spent the rest of the time in
yeah,
studios.
um, overall, to me, we've been to all but one um, one Disney resort, and that's Tokyo. So I know when we go to Tokyo, my opinion will change on this. But right now, I Disneyland Paris is, I think, the most beautiful park. I feel like they took all the lessons they learned from building Disneyland and Magic Kingdom and used that used all those lessons to improve upon at Disneyland Paris. The landscaping is amazing and beautiful. I feel like the theming is stronger than the US parks. Maybe a hot take. I don't know. Um, but overall there's a lot of details that we'll get to, but I love this park. Like what was your first time opinion of this park?
I definitely agree. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I think it did benefit from the fact because I think they talked about in the Imagineering story in which they were saying that because, Europe has actual castles at these actual places that they had to step it up and they had to really make it for European culture. And I think that that just sort of elevated a lot of classics from the American parks. And yeah, I think there was some really great theming. I feel like some of the theming is a little like especially in their main park compared to like Magic Kingdom, I feel like it's much better there. But yeah, you can definitely tell that they took and just elevated upon their
Yeah.
original designs. And it was a, it was, I'm so happy I was able to go. I want to go back. It's small, but it's mighty.
It is a mighty park. To get to the parks, you can from Charles de Gaulle Airport. There is a magical shuttle airport bus, which is what we did. That brought us in. It stops at all the hotels, which was fun to see all the hotels, and dropped us off there. You can do Uber, which is what we actually took into the city from the hotel. There's a train station right at the entrance of the park. So you can take from Charles de Gaulle. You can also get, if you just want to take a day trip, if you're at Paris and you just want to go out for the day, you can take a train out, spend the day at Disneyland, and not even stay at a resort. So, build that into a one day and then, just wander around and enjoy it. But it wasn't difficult to get there. So that was a nice thing for sure. Um so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna start in Disneyland Paris. Um and we're sort of gonna go sort of what we did with Animal Kingdom. This will be the sort of the format for all our park ones is we go sort of by land or area and talk about what's there. This one we'll talk sort of about some of the differences between um, parks, but just to get you an idea of what's there and what we think is probably the fun stuff to do and look for. So of course you have to start with Main Street USA. I mean, it's the first
That's
part.
you can't get around not going to Main Street. That's like the one land that you're forced to go on to.
Right, right. There's no choice. Um, the really the only ride there is the railroad, and the interesting thing is when you go into the park, you actually go under the Disneyland Paris Hotel rather than the train station that you would at Magic Kingdom or Disneyland. So it is sort of a different look. You get under there and you're like, oh, we're in the park. Like it's sort of, if you're used to the other parks, it's a different process. But
I do
yeah,
have to
it
say it was nice because there's like a giant garden too that you have to walk through before you get to like
mhm.
it just the minute you even get there, it's just magical before you even walk into the park. So I did enjoy that.
Yeah, it's the like I said, the landscaping. I don't know if it's because I have no idea. I mean, it's a four season, like they get four seasons there. It's the one park that gets snow um
Or should get
consistently
snow.
or should get snow. So it I don't know if that affects what they have planted there or not, but it's gorgeous. Um and another cool thing that they have is on the outside the of Main Street is they have like a covered walkway arcade area that lets you like walk behind the shops, but it's covered, which is very helpful for again with the snow or rain. So it's just sort of that nice covered walking area, and you can get out of the crowds. I find it easier. I like to walk in and looking at the castle, but when it's time to go, I'm happy to miss the crowds.
And it's actually like a wide space.
hmm
So there is a lot of room for a lot of people. It's not like something narrow or anything. So it's also because it's like you could walk through the store, but that gets really busy. So it's just like if you just want to walk inside but not through the store, it's perfect. And then it's still themed, still great. I think there's a lot of stuff for like the Statue of Liberty in those areas.
hmm
It's really great area. Just
Yeah.
check it out anyway.
So I know you're my theming expert, so and what do you have for us on Main Street?
Okay, so first off, there are basic things that are found in basically all the main streets. First off, there's window designs. If you look at some of the windows, they'll have names or little things on it. Most of them are in reference to a Disney Imagineer or someone really important to the Disney family. Also, especially under the windows that are like, oh, music lessons or dance lessons or something, if you stand underneath them, you can hear them. That's also true. Like I know in the Hollywood Studios Park in Florida, same thing. Also, if you see a phone somewhere, pick it up. You're likely going to hear a conversation. It's so fun. And then also just sort of the use of force perspective. There's a lot in order to make Main Street look bigger or smaller, different ways you walk, and then to make the castle look grander. And then for this specific one, there's a barber shop called the Dapper Dan's Haircut. And the Dapper Dan's references the barbershop quartet that performs on Main Street in those parks. This barbershop is also a tribute to Walt's father, who was a barber, and it's also decorated with furniture from a retiring barber in Chicago,
That's so
which is
cool.
really interesting. Yeah. And then these are just also little fun facts that I found out about Disneyland Paris in general that I just are completely geared to me. But Disneyland Paris has the largest costume stock in Europe with 250,000 garments, which is a lot.
That's a
And then
ton.
their costume shop creates about 5,000 costumes a year, and some take over 200 hours to make.
Yeah, everything there is definitely a little bigger than
Yeah.
the other parks. Um, things in my mind, things to do. We actually there was a little cafe on Main Street where we stopped to get our um pain au chocolat and cappuccinos, and it was nice. I think the bakery just reopened that was not open when we were there. And it's Sleeping Beauty's castle. You have to get a picture. We'll talk more about why I think it's so far the best castle I've seen. Um, but it's gorgeous and it's the landscaping's perfect. Any other things we should be doing while we're in Main Street?
I mean, Main Street is meant to be shopped. Like you should shop there. Just walk through the stores. It's fun. There was a little like bookstore type thing that was really cool. I found these like cool like behind the scenes books of different rides. I don't know. I'm a huge nerd with that kind of stuff, but like they have the classic stores and stuff. Like I think they have a hat store and stuff. But like yeah, just shop. Come on.
Yeah,
It's fun. It's
that's right.
Disney.
It's Disney. You need a souvenir.
Yeah.
Um, so if you could go in, you're turning, we're gonna turn right off of Main Street, and they don't have a Tomorrowland. They have what's called Discoveryland. And I think it makes so much more sense than Tomorrowland. And the rides there, they don't their Space Mountain is actually a Star Wars hyperspace mountain. Their Star Tours is there rather than at Hollywood Studios. They have a Buzz Lightyear laser blast. Um, they have an Autotopia, which I much more prefer than Tomorrowland Speedway. And their PhilharMagic is in Discoveryland and not Fantasyland, right? Magic Kingdom is
Yeah.
Fantasyland. Um, it's themed so cool. It's just it's very Jules Verne steampunk feel to it, which is just it's more timeless than like you sort of go into Tomorrowland, you're like it doesn't feel like tomorrow anymore. Like it feels dated. So it just works really well. But again, what did you think? What are the theming details that got you?
Well, I mean, I definitely agree. I do sort of like the steampunk and Jules Verne vibes a lot. I think I still sort of love the like original concept of Tomorrowland because it's sort of based on like 1950s style of the future. And then I think they tried to update it and they just sort of stopped. So I feel like if they went back to like the 1950s sort of, I think that would be really fun. But I think I do love sort of how timeless this one is and how steampunky it is. But yeah, no, I really liked the area because it was like the same rides. It was just
Right.
better theming.
Yeah. I hate like it pains me to say it, but it is.
Yeah.
Except for they could have used Figment, like because there's a huge like hot air balloon thing coming out of
Oh, like
the
a
one building.
Zeppelin,
Yes,
Zeppelin.
yeah,
Yeah.
Zeppelin. There's a Zeppelin, and um, it's like as soon as you see it as a Walt Disney World Epcot fan, you're like, is that Dreamfinder? Is Figment here? He is not. It is not Dreamfinders. It's not Figment, but it has that sort of original Figment feel. Um, that is really cool.
Mhm.
Um, any cool theming details that you have for this area?
Yeah, so Hyperspace Mountain actually propels to 46 miles per hour in 2 seconds. And the technology they use is used in aircraft carriers to propel jet fighters to do so. So yeah, it's a fun launch. It is also the fastest of all the Space Mountain style rides in all the parks. The fastest one.
And it
It's
goes
so
upside
much
down
fun.
too, right?
Yes, I think
Nice.
there's at least one loop. I think there might be multiple. I don't really remember. It's so much fun.
Obviously, I skipped that one. Anything else? Any other good tidbits?
No, I mostly just focused on Hyperspace Mountain just because I it was so much fun. I think we rode it twice. I could have ridden it like so many times. It
Yeah.
was such a fun. I like the theming for it's so cool. Like it's so great.
Um, for things to do, obviously, someone thinks Hyperspace Mountain, you definitely need to do.
Hmm.
I love the Autotopia in Disneyland Paris. It sort of takes you through like a French countryside, rather than a race scenario. And it's more relaxing, it's more beautiful. Um, while you're waiting though in line, it starts it starts going down a hill. Like that's how the beginning of the ride is.
With a turn
With a
too.
turn, with a pretty sharp turn. So it it was fun to stand in line and see how kids who were quote unquote driving the cars, um, what they did. Like, did they hit the gas? Did they spit? Like, you just never knew. So it definitely it was entertaining to watch both before we got on and then when we got on. It's just it's a nice drive. I know they're getting ready to change it a little bit. I really hope they don't mess it up. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. And we actually we had a lot of serendipitous times just in our full Paris trip. We end up at a British pub
Right place, right
on
time.
Coronation, and we ended up in Disneyland Paris on May the 4th. And so it was all the Star Wars celebrations going on. There were a lot of fans, a lot of extra things going on, but we sort of paparazzied and were able to find Mando and Grogu from a distance. We have some pictures. That was the closest. We hadn't seen them in the other parks yet, so it was really cool to see them walking around a little bit. But um, again, it's we didn't do all the rides, but I from what's different from the other ones, definitely Autotopia is worth it to me. How about you?
Yeah, I would say Autotopia and then Hyperspace Bound. I think those are the two. If you do throw rides, Hyperspace Bound 100% go on. And then Autotopia is actually worth it. It's really
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah,
And then I also do have to say the nice thing about the Star Wars section is that it was sort of off of everything else. So it's sort of in its own like section itself. So it's like there was all that stuff going on, but it didn't affect any of the other crowding
that
around
that's true.
Discoveryland. They're
That
really good about having this section so crowding doesn't happen.
yeah, in the parks in general, there's a lot of different behaviors that people are used to doing in the US that you can't um I don't want to say get away with. It's actually more organized. They keep people in the area they want you to. If they don't, they will let you know you're in the wrong place. So it was nice that was you could get around it. You weren't trying to push through people. It was very well organized for sure. Um, the biggest section of the park, which I think is the biggest section of all the parks, is it's always Fantasyland.
Yep.
It's, there's so much to do. Um, there's Sleeping Beauty's castle. It's a small world. Peter Pan's flight. There's a Snow White ride, a Pinocchio ride, Mad Hatter's teacup, Alice's Curious Labyrinth. There's a carousel, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Casey Jr. train, and I there's a boat ride that you can go see the miniature replicas. It's in French, and I just didn't even try to say the name.
When all I can say in French is "pain au chocolat."
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I'm like, bonjour, and I'm good. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of rides. I I would say other than the theming, I would say the Fantasyland here is similar to that in Disneyland. Would you agree?
yeah, I think because it also sort of has that layout. It's like the layout, but just bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of space in the Fantasyland, which was really nice. You weren't in Magic Kingdom, you can sort of get clogged up really easily walking through, but there was a lot of space. The Every little thing is themed and you feel like you're walking through this little village. It's very cool. Um the the Sleeping Beauty's castle is there's a really cool things about this. And you can walk through the castle. Most of the other ones are blocked by a stage or something. You just can't get through them. There's also a walkthrough attraction at the top that basically you're walking through stained glass windows and statues and other art that tell the story of Sleeping Beauty. And then the exit takes you out to a balcony at the back of the castle. So you're up in a castle balcony, and you can overlook kids and adults trying to remove King Arthur's sword from the stone. Um, which we
It's
spent
so entertaining.
probably about 20 minutes watching.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was fun to watch the kids go for it, and then the adults that tried for it. It was really entertaining.
Yeah. No one was successful. But it was fun to watch. It's just neat that you can be up on that castle. But honestly, to me, the best part of the castle is what's under it. You go down in a very dark, very area with the steps. But there is a huge dragon animatronic, and it's so cool. And so and then the landscaping around the castle, the trees were cut into like the top of the trees look like the squares from the movie. Um, it's just it's so good. Like because you can interact with the and get into the castle, it's not just there. Like it's part of the storytelling.
Yeah, it literally does, especially because of those trees. It looks straight out of the Sleeping Beauty movie, especially like when it starts, the beginning of it, when it looks like storybook pages.
Hmm.
It looks like it came straight out of that, and I think that's a really magical thing to see and be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
actually the castle.
And another thing that they have, well, they have throughout the parks, they have a lot of walkthrough things rather than what we have here in the States. And Alice's Labyrinth, it's the maze it's a really fun maze. You sort of walk around. Um, but it's the Queen of Hearts castle, and you can go up on, and there's such a cool view of the rest of the park from up there. So it's definitely worth walking through and checking out. But for the most part, most of the rides are fairly similar, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, they have a bunch of dark rides, very similar to the Disneyland one.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I feel like most of the stuff is very similar. I feel like the outside is mostly the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Any fun theming details?
You know it. Um, so the dragon animatronic, which I love and adore, is the biggest animatronic in that park at 79 feet long, and it weighs 2.5 tons.
Yeah, it's big.
Big. It's so cool. It it's so cool. I love it. I'm like, every castle should have a dragon. Every single one of them.
Fair enough.
The castle itself is inspired by Mont Saint Michael and takes a more fairy tale approach than the historical approaches that all the other castles take. Again, adding to the magic and beauty of it. The pink color of the castle actually helps to brighten up the typically gray sky.
We got
And
really nice weather though, so that castle was showing off for us.
yes, that was nice. And then in the 12 minutes of It's a Small World ride, there are 281 animatronics on display.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that was another thing that we got lucky with. It had been closed for I don't know how long for major refurbishment, and it opened that. Oh, that's why we
All
went
right.
over.
Yeah.
The last day we were there, and we went over, and I mean, it's gorgeous. The painting, it's been totally repainted, and the costume's been just redone, and it was gorgeous. Like it was so cool to see it. I never remember the differences between the rides, but some people some people do. I know it's a little different, but it was neat to see it with like that fresh coat of paint, basically.
Yeah, no, that was cool. Also because it's like it's such an iconic ride, and even if you don't remember what's different about each of them, it's just still fun to see. Oh, they have that. There's that. And especially when they sort of characters or character influence to stuff, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Any other theme things?
Yeah, that's it.
That's
I
it.
don't want to completely take up the entire time with theming information, so I tried to limit myself.
No problem. So things you should do. I definitely have to spend time um in the castle. And again, I recommend Alice's Maze. It's a small world. I just think that's a definite you have to do in every park just to see the differences and it's just such a happy ride. I think we need the reminder that it is a small world. Um oh and one thing we did do, which is we stood in line for Queen of Hearts and Tweedledee and Tweedledum for pictures. It looked like a short line, but it took a lot longer than we thought. But
But it
that's
was
the
worth it because they're never there in the American parks. Like I
right.
don't see them, so it's like I'm gonna wait for them here.
Well, and the reason that it took so long was they spent so much time with each guest, including us. I mean, it's two two grown-ups basically. Um, so I'm taking pictures. They're of course goofing around with Julia, and
They're
then
playing
next
with my
thing
hair.
playing with her hair, and next thing I know, I don't Tweedledee or Tweedledum, I don't know which one was like in the face of my camera, um, which I'll have to post pictures because it's the progression of pictures is hysterical. And then he comes behind me and he's pointing at the camera, and it took me a while to realize he wanted me to flip the camera for selfie. So then I have selfie pictures of me and Tweedledee or Tweedledum, and then he went back and I got group shots of everything. But I mean, it just I I can't stress that, character pictures are not just for kids. Like the characters enjoy the interaction. They don't think you're weird. Like just if you see a character you like, just go have fun and experience it. I think that's my constant reminder to
Yeah.
people.
No, because it's great because both the characters and the character like wranglers and stuff, they're so good about making you feel like you can be there, you are welcomed, they want to see you, they want to meet. Like they make it such a great experience that like it doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't feel weird to be like older and just want a hug from Chip and Dale or something. Like it it's totally normal. And that's what I love about it is that it's like, yeah, if you see a character you want to meet, just go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not weird. Go.
Do you have any must-dos in Fantasyland?
I think I agree with yours. I am going to harp on the castle. Go say hi to my favorite dragon. Well, actually, not
Second
my
favorite.
favorite dragon in that park. Uh, go go stand on that balcony and watch kids try to take the sword out of the stone. Just go and actually enjoy the castle because that's such a rare thing to actually be able to do in a Disney park. So, and it's so worth it.
Exactly. So from Fantasyland, we moved over to Adventureland. Um, and this has definitely some rides people will be familiar with and some that aren't. Has Pirates of the Caribbean are there. They have an Indiana Jones, but it's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril, so it's totally different than the Disneyland Indiana Jones
Mm-hmm.
ride. They have a Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. They have Adventure Isle, which I cannot remember what's there. Um, they have sort of this pirate walk-through section of caves and ships and stuff. And then there's an Aladdin walkthrough that you walk through and you can see statues and stuff of telling the story of Aladdin. Uh, and like I said, the Indiana Jones ride's totally different. And and like in the pirate section, like I said, it has a different name. But it
I
has the
think I
ship.
found it's just the Caribbean era
Okay.
area. Like
Okay.
it doesn't really have a name. It's just the
Okay.
Caribbean area.
That's good because but it has a lot of fun things to walk through and see. Again, it's very dark. We're used to in the US a lot of lights and making sure no one falls down steps. I'm not sure how OSHA or the equivalent works in France, but things can be dark. So use the flashlight on your phone if you're looking to get up and down steps sometimes because it can get definitely dark in there. But the Pirates is a little different. A scene that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to, but there's a scene that we're all used to. It's in a different spot, right? Okay.
I'm gonna say yeah because I don't remember.
So but it's pretty much the same. Pirates is always good. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely different, but also very cool. What did you have for the theming? Any
I'm just
theming
gonna go back to the
tidbits?
differences because I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay,
speak
yes,
a little bit
please.
more on the Indiana Jones one.
Oh, yes, because you wrote it. I did not.
Yeah. It's an outdoor roller coaster. It does in fact have a loop. It's fun. It has great theming. I mean, honestly, anything Indiana Jones is gonna have great theming. I my neck did actually hurt after it. It sort of shook me around a little bit, so it did hurt. It was fun, but it hurt. But yeah, no, that I just want to talk a little bit more about the different. Like, you don't really, there's not really an animatronic or anything, but it's just a fun coaster, and the queue is really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I forgot that you went on that. Theming, I do have one theming thing. Um, there's a agrabah section in Adventureland, and it's so cool. It's got like the tile work and the walkthrough for Aladdin, and there's a
Like, it looks
vehicle,
like
and
the back of the Morocco Pavilion in Epcot.
yes, it's gorgeous. But it cracks me up because of Magic Kingdom Adventureland, we that's where the magic carpet of Aladdin's magic carpet ride is. Um, Here it's over in Studio Park. It's not in Agrabah. It makes me laugh. We know the reason why, and you'll hear about it when we do the episode. Um, but it's just one of those funny things because there's no ride in that section. So it's very pretty. It's very nice to hang out in and walk around and look at. But yeah, it's the theming detail that makes me laugh the most.
I do have to say, I sort of like it without it. Like, I love the magic carpets. It's a pretty looking ride, but I just feel like because they did such a beautiful job with the architecture in the area, it would have just cheapened it to put it there. So I do
That's
respect the
fair.
decision.
That's fair. And it is more peaceful there because it's not there. So
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. And then you might notice a very well known ride is missing. Looking at you, Jungle Cruise. There's actually a really solid reason about why it's missing. It's because the weather is unsuitable for the animatronic animals. Sorry, they are animatronics. I sorry to spoil that, but they're not real.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Go to Animal Kingdom for real animals. Um, yeah, so it's just because of the actual Four Seasons that they get, it would have been bad for the animatronics. There were some ideas to maybe build the ride under a glass roof, but it was just altogether abandoned, and then it never came to fruition. But yeah, so you will notice that an iconic ride is not there.
That's true. I always forget that that's not there, but I don't there's so much else I don't think it's fully missed there. I think Indiana Jones rides makes up for that.
Yeah, I think that does help that they at least have that.
Yeah. Any other theming tidbits for us?
No, that's it. There's really not. I think it's just more the fact that there are different sort of lands and sections within Adventureland.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bigger land than like Magic Kingdom. It's a little spread out, but yeah, it does seem that it has a few more areas within the land. Um, I rode Pirates and did some of the walkthroughs in the Aladdin. So I think you should always ride Pirates if it's available and you can ride that. But yeah, that was definitely my must. And then just walk around and sort of enjoy the theming.
Yeah.
Did you have besides I know Pirates you're gonna say, but
Yeah,
anything
obviously
else?
pirates, enjoy the theming. I would say if you want to risk maybe being shook around a little bit, Indiana Jones. It's fun. It hurt. I think I was also hungry, so that just sort of added to it. But you want to check in with yourself if you think you're ready for it. But it's a fun ride.
Yeah, it looked fun. I was just like, oh, no, thank you. There were a lot, but it's not so crazy. Like a lot of kids were coming off of it. Like it's not a super scary coaster. I think it just the way it's built, it shakes you around
Yeah,
a
I think
lot.
it's just a little older, so
Yeah,
it'll do that. But yeah, no, it's fine otherwise. It's not anything that it's like, oh my gosh, like kids don't even do it. Like, yeah, no, it's
yeah.
fine.
And then our last land here, which is probably the most different, is Frontierland. And Frontierland has Big Thunder Mountain, which we're familiar with. It has the riverboat, which goes through Frontierland in Magic Kingdom, but isn't technically a Frontierland ride, correct?
Yeah, because isn't it
Let's
like the Liberty
I think it's
boat or
Liberty
something?
Square,
Because
yeah.
the dock is in Liberty Square.
Yeah. And then the big difference and and the reason that we were most excited for Frontierland is Phantom Manor, which is their version of Haunted Mansion. Um, so difference wise, yes, by far the most significant one is Phantom Manor. Um, it has a different storyline, and I'll let Julia explain that a little bit. And and I'll also let her explain why Big Thunder Mountain is a little different. I think mainly how you get in and out of it is the difference. But I'm gonna throw it over to you.
Yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry. I love this so much. It's so great. This is a brief thing. There's a really great description if you go on like the Disney Wiki and look up Phantom Manor. If you're like, I want to know more, it has a great thing. So this is just sort of a brief overview, but it's so fun to look into. So the house was built by Henry Ravenswood after striking gold with his company, Thunder Mesa Mining Co., which is on Big Thunder Mountain. So Big Thunder Mountain and Phantom Manor in this land are in fact connected. It's really cool that they were able to use that as a storyline. There in that house, he lived with his wife and daughter, who's Milani Ravenswood. I'm sorry. Milani grew up and she got engaged to a train engineer, and they would go. And their idea was after they got married, they would go far away, which upset Henry. Henry made it his mission to stop the wedding, and he did everything he could, but he and his wife were killed by an earthquake. And it was believed that the earthquake was caused by the Thunderbird, which was a rumor by natives that this was a powerful spirit possessing a treasure in Big Thunder Mountain, which it's thought of that as with Henry's mining company, it sort of dis- disturbed the Thunderbird. Um, On Milani's wedding, a mysterious phantom appeared and lured Milani's groom to the attic and hanged him. Milani, unaware of what happened, waited for her groom. To this day, she still wanders the house in her wedding gown and with her wedding bouquet, waiting for her lover to return. The phantom remains, laughing at her human devotion to her lost groom. The phantom then invited his dead and demonic friends to come to the house and have a party, and a dark curse has fallen upon the house ever since. No one stepped foot until you. Now, in a 2019 refurbishment of the ride, it did in fact confirm that Henry Ravenswood was in fact the Phantom, and Milani's had four previous suitors that were all murdered by Henry before his death. So it gets more into that, but yeah, it's really interesting.
just a happy, happy
Yeah.
little ride. I
Yeah.
w I will say I feel like it's a little darker, not in light wise, but like the theme, it stays a little darker than the Haunted Mansion in in the US,
Yeah.
which was fun. Um, so and that one that was being refurbished last time we were there. So last time I was there, so it was cool to finally experience that in its full glory.
It's so fun.
And Big Thunder Mountain, do you go under the sort of lake that it's on, right? To get in and
Yeah,
out
so
of the
there's
ride.
like some water surrounding it, so the ride's sort of on an island itself. So where you get on is outside of the island. So yes, you end up going underneath the waterway to actually get to the main ride area, which is actually sort of cool.
Yeah. Any other theming details there?
Yeah, so just in general, Frontierland is meant to represent the conquest of the Wild West by the European. The entrance includes Native American influence, but as you continue into the land, there start to be more European buildings, and then just sort of the general city of Thunder Mesa, which is sort of the name of the city where like Big Thunder Mountain is and where Phantom Manor is.
Gotcha. Um, Phantom Manor is a definite do. And I didn't do Big Thunder Mountain this time, but I ride it on a regular. So if you like any kind of roller coaster, definitely do that. Um, is were those your main must-dos?
Yeah, I think those are my main must-dos. I mean, Phantom Manor is you didn't go to the park if you didn't ride Phantom Manor. I
Yeah,
feel like I just say that about any park where there's a haunted mansion, but like specifically Phantom Manor, the lore behind it, so good.
yeah, it's definitely it's very different. There's a lot of familiarity, but then it's very different too. So it's it's definitely a not to skip. In your mind, what are the best thrill rides in the whole park?
There are not a lot of thrill rides. My favorite one was had to be Star Wars Hyperspace Mountain. It's just so much fun. That launch is great. The theming's great. The outside, absolutely gorgeous. It's sort of fun because like the cannon that you're shot through is like supposed to be like from Baltimore or whatever. So I thought that was sort of fun because we're from that area. But like that was my all-time like favorite thing. Second, I'm gonna say Big Thunder Mountain. Big Thunder Mountain's a classic. I love it. It's always just fun. It's always good. Great theming, great queue. It was a lot of fun. The one weird thing about the queue, at least when we went on, is that they split you into two lines and then they
Hmm,
merged you back into one line to then get loaded on.
interesting.
So that was so honestly, depending on which side you chose, really had your wait time because the people that were behind us, they went on the other line and we were so far ahead of them by the time that we actually went back to one line. So
Interesting.
there's gonna be a little luck of the draw with that.
Yeah.
And then
Uh,
third, I'm gonna say Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril. It's a fun ride. It hurt, but it was fun. I'd probably do it again. I, it was worth it.
it's worth a little pain.
It's worth
Um,
it.
in full, like what rides are to not be skipped if you're there?
Phantom Manor.
Hmm.
Obviously, don't skip it. I'm gonna say Hyperspace Mountain. Um, go to the castle, and then Autotopia. Autotopia is fun.
The only two I would add is Small World and I think the maze, Alice's Maze is just it's so different. It's
Yeah.
sort of nostalgic and the statues and stuff. So um
As someone who loves that movie and loves all the details of the movie, it was so fun because like, oh my gosh, it's that creature and it's that and it's so much fun. It's really pretty. It's a fun little walk. Like you're not around a lot of people in it. Like it's fun to sort of get away.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Get
quiet in
lost in the
there.
maze. It's so quiet.
It's I like to call introvert recharging zone.
Yes.
As far as eating and drinking, we didn't do a lot in the park or in this park. Like we did have the pain au chocolat. Um, And then I cannot remember, it was an Italian restaurant. I cannot remember the name of it in Fantasyland. We went in specifically to see the newly designed, they had a room themed for Luca, which is one of our favorite. The pizza in there, it was fine. It wasn't great, but the place was gorgeous, and they actually let you sort of peeked in, and they let you go in and take pictures. So,
Yeah, because the Luca room is currently closed off, so I think we ended up in a Lady and the Tramp room.
mhm.
But so the Luca room was closed off, but I saw some people looking in and like there was a cast member that let you in. So like I was sort of peeking through and they're like, oh, do you want to come in? So yeah, so I was able to look in, I was able to see there's some really cute theming stuff. There's some small like it's so cute. I love that movie and the theming was just so perfect for it. I was like, I love this. But
And
I don't know when it's gonna open up, but I think it would be magical to eat in that room.
yeah, I think it's probably depends on how many if they need extra room for seating. I don't know, but I will say that was a difference in the parks that it was actually I appreciated it, but ooh, in the US, people will go in, get their table, and then send someone up to order. And it just sort of, and I understand why, and we've done it in the past, but it sort of just messes up with the flow because they know how, getting people in and out. You cannot usually do that in Paris. They will stop you. You have to have food to go into the sit down area. You have to have their food. You can't have because you can bring food in. Um, but you had to have had ordered and then they'll let you in. Also, there's not a lot of paper products, so it takes about one meal to figure out where everything goes when you go to dispose of stuff. So it's
There was about
they
like five different sorting
yeah,
things. And
yeah,
also because some of the translations weren't the same. Like I don't think they used the word recycle, but they used sort of a synonym to it. So it was also that moment of like trying to then translate what it meant to you.
yeah.
But once you figured it out, it was super easy and it actually made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it was really it was nice to see such a sustainable method used. I know we would probably have some initial issues in the US park of things walking off out of the park with guests, but um I just think from an environmental standpoint, I do hope some of those changes start coming over because like Julia said, it took one or two trips up there to know where everything went, but then it was a pretty quick process. They were very helpful too. But yeah, it definitely they had a process. They were not afraid to tell you you couldn't be in a room or sitting at a table if they felt you were at a bigger table than your party needed. Which I really appreciated because it we never had to look for a table. There was always a table available because of how they did that. But just be aware that that's sort of a culture difference at that park, and you know, just just respect what the cast member asks you, please.
Yes. Yes. Always every park, if a cast member says something, respect it. Don't be mean to them. They are doing their best. And yeah.
Exactly. Just some final thoughts I have is even to me, even if you're not a huge theme park fan, but it's just but you want something different to do for a day when you're in out in Paris is take the train out and just walk around Disneyland Paris and just enjoy it. It's beautiful. Um, it just is something different and it's really worth it. And I'm looking forward to there's some stuff coming up at the Studios Park that we'll talk about, but you know, it's definitely worth a trip out there. It's you don't need a full week there. Um, I mean, you could probably then get every ride done, but uh, a day and a half is probably great for most people. Any final thoughts you have?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is so worth it to go, even if you're just gonna walk around and ride two rides. Like it's one of the more beautiful parks of all of them. It's so worth it to just stroll around and truly just appreciate the theming. appreciate everything and just truly soak it in because it's very magical, it's very beautiful, it's very like storybook kind of thing, and it's so worth it just to walk around. Even if you're not going to do anything else, just walk around and enjoy it.
Exactly. So that is it for Disneyland Paris. We'll be back in another episode to talk about the Studios Park. But I hope these episodes inspire you to get out and roam, even in your own neighborhood. So please subscribe and don't miss so you don't miss future episodes. And if you like what we're doing here, please leave a review and a rating. And also to support us, please head to yeti2shop.com to pick up some roaming Yeti merch and sign up for our newsletter to join us in our monthly bingo challenge. Talk to you soon and keep roaming.